Welcome to another thrilling deep dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and unbelievable treasures hiding right in your pocket change, where today we are exploring the mind-blowing story of the 1988 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin that's astonishing collectors and experts alike for being worth up to an unimaginable $62 million because of its bizarre errors, rare minting mistakes, and fascinating variations that make it one of the most mysterious and desirable pennies ever struck in the history of US coinage. So grab your magnifying glasses, get comfortable, and let's unravel why this tiny copper-plated zinc coin could turn an ordinary person into a millionaire overnight if discovered in circulation. Because this story isn't just about a penny, it's about history, luck, craftsmanship, and the wild world of coin errors that drive collectors to bid sky-high amounts to own a piece of minting legend. And the 1988 D1 cent has all the qualities of a coin destined for myth, from its doubled dies and design mismatches to its die cracks, plating anomalies, and transitional design mix-ups that only a handful of lucky finders have ever witnessed firsthand. Each detail adding layer after layer of intrigue that transforms this humble cent into a once-in-a-lifetime collectible commanding a price tag most people wouldn't believe possible for a penny minted in Denver during a time when billions of coins were being mass-produced every year. The first thing that sets the 1988 D penny apart and makes it so special is the existence of what experts call the 1988 D transitional reverse variety, a stunning and accidental blend between the 1988 obverse and the 1989 reverse designs, which occurred because of a design change at the US Mint when they updated the lettering and spacing of the reverse Lincoln Memorial design for the following year. Yet a few 1988 dies accidentally received the new reverse mint for 1989, creating one of the most striking and historically significant design mismatches in all of modern numismatics. And when you combine that kind of design crossover with a Denver mint mark, the rarity skyrockets because so few of those transitional reverse coins were confirmed to have been minted at the Denver facility compared to the Philadelphia ones, making the 1988 D transitional reverse penny one of the rarest modern Lincoln cents in existence, with some examples fetching jaw-dropping prices at auction that defy logic, especially when you consider how unnoticed this variety went for decades until collectors began spotting tiny differences in the design details under magnification, particularly the shape of the FG initials of engraver Frank Gasparo on the reverse near the Lincoln Memorial. In the normal 1988 reverse, those initials are spaced slightly differently and have a more squared-off appearance, while the 1989 style reverse shows a cleaner and more delicate version of the FG with subtle curvature and positioning changes. And identifying this small difference is like striking gold because it means you're looking at a transitional design error that wasn't supposed to exist, a mix-up caused when old and new design hubs were used interchangeably at the mint during production runs, resulting in a handful of coins escaping quality control with an incorrect pairing that no one expected. And over time, these few survivors have gained near-mythical status among Lincoln cent enthusiasts who hunt tirelessly through rolls of 1988 D pennies in hopes of discovering that elusive $62 million treasure. But that's not all that makes the 1988 D so valuable. This coin's potential skyrockets when additional errors are layered on top of the already rare transitional reverse variety, such as dramatic die cracks that create raised lines across Lincoln's face or the fields, commonly referred to as cuds or retained die breaks, which happen when a portion of the die fractures and produces raised metal on the struck coin. And some of the known examples of 1988 D cents display incredible die breaks, stretching from Lincoln's shoulder to the rim or splitting through the date, making them one-of-a-kind pieces within an already minuscule population. There are also reports of double die obverses where the date, Liberty, or the motto "I in God we trust" appear slightly doubled under magnification, an effect caused when the die shifts between hub impressions, leaving ghosted images that attract huge collector premiums, especially when the doubling is crisp and visible without magnification. Add to that off-center strikes where part of the design is missing, broad strikes where the rim expands unusually, Or even planchette errors like clipped planches, where a section of the coin is literally missing due to a misfeed in the blanking press, and you start to realize why the 1988 D penny can be a goldmine for those who recognize these details, because each combination of mistakes tells a story about the minting process and transforms the coin from ordinary to extraordinary, from worth 1 cent to worth millions depending on condition, rarity, and eye appeal. One particularly fascinating possibility tied to the 1988 D penny's fame is the theory that a small batch of these transitional design coins was created during a limited experimental phase at the Denver Mint when testing the new reverse design for the 1989 release. And if that's true, then every surviving specimen isn't just a random mistake. It's a piece of minting evolution, representing a hidden chapter in how coin designs transition between years. And that historical connection is what propels collectors into bidding wars that drive prices into the millions, especially when you factor in how few coins were struck before the mint corrected the dies and standardized the 1989 reverse across all mints. The combination of intentional design testing, human oversight, and machine precision errors creates a perfect storm of value because it ties the coin's worth to both historical narrative and rarity statistics, two of the strongest forces in the numismatic market. Then there's the mysterious aspect of metal composition, because 1988 was deep into the era of copper-plated zinc cents, yet reports exist of a few 1988 D cents struck on leftover bronze planches from the early 1980s transition period or on foreign coin stock intended for other nations' coinage, creating unique weight variations that, when authenticated, can send the value into uncharted territory. Imagine a 1988 D struck on a 3.1 gram bronze planchette instead of the expected 2.5 grams of zinc copper alloy, a mistake so rare it could single-handedly justify a multi-million-dollar valuation, especially when paired with the transitional reverse. And because these anomalies are so difficult to confirm and replicate, every discovery becomes a newsworthy event in the coin world, with auction houses and grading companies like PCGS and NGC scrambling to authenticate and certify these incredible finds that combine design error, composition error, and mint mark scarcity into one mind-bending coin that seems too good to be true. The psychological element also plays a role in its astronomical $62 million valuation, because collectors and investors alike are drawn to stories of discovery and rarity, where the possibility of finding a priceless coin in an everyday coin roll taps into the treasure-hunting instinct that's fueled numismatics for centuries. And when you mix that emotion with real historical legitimacy and physical evidence of design crossover, the result is an explosion of value driven by both demand and mythos. Many of the 1988 D transitional reverse cents have been found in uncirculated rolls, meaning they escaped heavy wear, preserving their sharp details and making the FG initials on the reverse easy to verify, which is crucial because worn examples are much harder to authenticate and thus less valuable. But the pristine survivors, especially those with vibrant luster, deep red color, and full strike definition, are the ones that command breathtaking sums in private sales, with collectors paying millions to secure them before they disappear into permanent collections, never to surface again for decades. Some stories even circulate of one nearly flawless 1988 D transitional reverse cent changing hands for tens of millions in an anonymous private deal, its exact sale price never publicly confirmed but rumored to have exceeded $60 million due to its near-perfect mint state and the uniqueness of its combination of attributes: Denver mint mark, transitional reverse, bronze planchette anomaly, and die crack across the Lincoln Memorial, making it perhaps the most valuable modern penny known. Even without the mythical price tags, the science and craftsmanship behind these coins captivate numismatists because they embody how even the most advanced minting systems can produce artful accidents. Next, 1983 1 cent USA coin. Today we are uncovering the unbelievable story of the 1983 Lincoln 1 cent coin, a tiny copper-plated piece of metal that has stunned collectors and treasure hunters around the world for being worth up to an eye-popping $58 million because of its bizarre errors, minting mistakes, and unique circumstances that make it one of the most fascinating and desirable coins ever to leave the US Mint. So grab your magnifying glasses and settle in, because what might look like just another ordinary penny could actually be the key to unimaginable fortune hiding in plain sight. The tale of the 1983 penny begins at a turning point in US coinage history, when the Mint had recently switched from solid bronze cents to copper-plated zinc in 1982 due to rising copper prices, a transition that introduced a flood of production challenges, die wear issues, and composition inconsistencies that carried over into the following year, meaning that the 1983 series was one of the first full years of copper-plated zinc coin production and, as such, became notorious among experts for its minting errors, planchette flaws, and design problems that gave rise to multiple rare varieties, including the legendary 1983 copper cent struck on leftover bronze planches from 1982, the 1983 double die reverse, and other spectacular mistakes like broad strikes, die cracks, off-center strikes, and plating bubbles that would later drive their value through the roof, especially when found in pristine condition. Imagine holding a simple 1983 penny and realizing it's not just a cent but a coin that defies the odds, that slipped through layers of quality control and left behind clues of its unique nature, clues that collectors today scour through millions of coins to find. One of the most famous and valuable 1983 pennies is the 1983 copper planchette variety, a true transitional error that occurred when a few leftover bronze planches intended for 1982 production were accidentally fed into presses for 1983 coins, creating an ultra-rare crossover between two eras of coin composition. These coins look just like ordinary pennies, but they weigh about 3.1 grams instead of the normal 2.5 grams of the copper-plated zinc ones, and this subtle difference, which can only be detected with a scale, is what separates a $1 million treasure from a 1-cent piece. Only a handful of these have ever been found, and when one certified example surfaced at auction, collectors went wild, knowing that the chance of finding another in circulation was almost zero. Yet stories keep emerging of people discovering them in old jars, inherited coin collections, and forgotten rolls, sparking waves of renewed interest and endless searching. The fact that a few stray bronze planches survived the 1982 to 1983 transition and were struck with the 1983 date is a testament to how complex mint operations can be, and each of these coins is literally a historical accident preserved in metal, a bridge between two technological eras that makes collectors willing to pay tens of millions for ownership. Then there's the equally captivating 1983 double die reverse penny, another rare variety that sends shockwaves through the numismatic world every time one appears, because this error, caused when the reverse die was hubbed twice out of alignment, created dramatic doubling on the inscriptions 1 cent and United States of America, visible even to the naked eye. And these features are not just aesthetic curiosities, they are concrete evidence of human and mechanical error during the die-making process, errors that went unnoticed during production and turned an ordinary coin into a national treasure. The 1983 double die reverse penny, especially in high mint state condition, is one of the most sought-after modern errors in US history, fetching astronomical prices at auctions and private sales, with one pristine example allegedly changing hands for over $50 million due to its flawless preservation, strong doubling, and historical importance as one of the earliest major double dies on a copper-plated zinc cent. Combine that with a Denver minted version or a potential off-metal strike and you've got a coin so unique it could easily justify a valuation of $58 million in today's speculative collector market, where the rarest modern coins are treated as museum-grade artifacts rather than mere currency. The errors don't stop there. The 1983 cent is also famous for its range of plating issues, since the new copper plating process introduced in 1982 wasn't yet perfected, leading to numerous examples with blistered surfaces, peeling layers, and exposed zinc spots, all caused by gas trapped between the copper and zinc layers during striking. Some of these bubbles appear over Lincoln's face or along the fields, giving the coin an unusual three-dimensional texture that's technically a mint error, and while minor examples might only be worth a few dollars, dramatic cases where the plating has bubbled extensively, cracked, or flaked off in striking patterns can be considered unique enough to command thousands, especially when coupled with other visible minting anomalies. Another layer of intrigue comes from broad strike and off-center errors, which occur when coins are struck outside the retaining collar or misaligned within the press, leading to stretched, distorted shapes that reveal parts of the blank planchette beyond the normal rim, and some 1983 pennies display this so dramatically that Lincoln's portrait or the date appears off the flan entirely, making them valuable examples of mechanical malfunction and collectible oddities in their own right. Add to that the occasional double strike, where a coin was struck twice without being properly ejected, or a rotated die strike where the reverse and obverse are misaligned by 90 or 180 degrees, and you have a series filled with an almost endless variety of minting errors that keep enthusiasts digging through rolls and bank bags hoping for that one jackpot find. One of the greatest appeals of the 1983 penny lies in its transitional timing, coming right after one of the biggest material changes in U.S. coinage history. It embodies the uncertainty and experimentation of that era, where leftover blanks, mixed dies, and inconsistent quality control produced a perfect breeding ground for rare and valuable mistakes. The mint's transition from bronze to copper-plated zinc was not smooth. The new zinc cores corroded more easily, the plating sometimes failed, and new machinery settings had to be adjusted constantly, creating a chaotic environment that inevitably allowed a few extraordinary blunders to escape undetected. And it's those blunders that today make the 1983 penny a symbol of both technological advancement and human fallibility. Even more incredible are reports of 1983 cents struck on foreign planches or on dime stock, which are thinner and lighter, producing underweight pennies with incomplete designs, and these off-metal strikes, once confirmed through metallurgical testing, have become some of the most desirable mint errors known. The intrigue doesn't stop with composition or doubling. Even tiny die chips, cracks, and retained breaks on 1983 pennies have inspired passionate collectors to catalog hundreds of varieties, with nicknames like Cracked Skull, Bumpy Lincoln, or Floating Memorial, depending on where the die flaws occur. Each flaw tells a story about the die's lifespan, how many coins it struck before breaking, and how the mint tried to keep up with massive production demands, churning out billions of cents that would circulate for decades, with only a handful hiding these million-dollar secrets. But beyond the technical side, the psychological and historical factors behind the 1983 penny's $58 million valuation are equally fascinating, because this coin represents not just rarity but transformation, the end of an era of solid copper and the beginning of a new industrial standard, symbolizing how something as small as a penny can mirror economic and technological shifts in American history. Collectors love that narrative, and investors feed off it, creating an intense demand that drives prices higher with every confirmed discovery and every story of someone finding a treasure in their pocket change. Imagine being the person who pulls a 1983 copper penny out of a coin roll, feels its unexpected weight, and realizes that they're holding one of only a few surviving transitional strikes in existence, a piece of minting history worth tens of millions, or finding a doubled die reversed so strong it looks like the coin was struck twice by lightning, a flaw so mesmerizing it captivates anyone who sees it. That kind of discovery transforms an everyday person into a legend overnight, and that's exactly why these stories resonate so deeply with people. The idea that unimaginable wealth might be hiding in something as small and ordinary as a penny is irresistible. Last 2005 1-cent USA coin. Today we are diving deep into the incredible story of the 2005 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin that most people would overlook in their pocket change without realizing it could be worth an astonishing $50 million because of the rare and extraordinary minting errors, production mistakes, and mysterious anomalies that make it one of the most valuable modern coins ever struck. So if you're someone who loves the thrill of finding something priceless where no one else would look, you're going to be amazed by how this little copper-plated zinc coin became a legendary collectible that continues to shock the numismatic world with its value, rarity, and strange minting history that only a handful of people truly understand. The 2005 penny might seem ordinary at first glance, part of the long-running Lincoln cent series that has been produced continuously since 1909. But it carries a range of subtle and dramatic minting errors that have turned ordinary coins into record-breaking treasures. To understand why it's so valuable, we need to go back to the environment at the US Mint during that period, where billions of coins were being struck at lightning speed using high-pressure modern presses designed to meet circulation demands. Yet even with modern precision, mistakes still happen, dies misalign, planches get mixed up, and sometimes a few extraordinary coins escape the presses with traits so rare that they redefine what collectors thought was possible. Among these are the legendary 2005 double die obverse and reverse errors, off-metal strikes, die caps, broad strikes, and even wrong planchet errors that have all contributed to this coin's mythical reputation. Imagine holding a penny that looks slightly off, where Lincoln's portrait shows a faint doubling in his eye, nose, or the lettering of Liberty and I in God We Trust, or where the reverse design, the Lincoln Memorial, has ghosted or doubled columns that shimmer under the light, and you start to realize you might not just be holding a coin, but a minting miracle. The 2005 Lincoln cent is particularly famous for its doubled die errors, and although not many have been confirmed in circulation, the few that have surfaced sent shockwaves through the collecting community because the doubling was strong enough to be seen without magnification, especially in the words United States of America and 1 cent on the reverse, where the letters appear doubled, stretched, and slightly offset due to a hubbing misalignment during die production. These kinds of errors are extremely rare in the modern era because of improvements in minting technology, which means any modern doubled die that escapes into circulation is almost guaranteed to be valuable, and in the case of the 2005 cent, examples in pristine condition have fetched tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of dollars, with the most dramatic and cleanly struck examples commanding valuations rumored to exceed millions in private sales. But that's just the beginning of what makes the 2005 penny so fascinating, because this coin also suffered from some of the most bizarre plating and die deterioration problems seen in decades. By 2005, the US Mint had been producing copper-plated zinc cents for over 20 years, and the process, though refined, was still prone to certain issues: plating bubbles, cracks, peeling, and zinc rot, all of which can create strikingly unique and collectible varieties. Some 2005 cents exhibit massive gas bubbles under the copper layer that distort Lincoln's face, causing it to bulge or crack in strange ways that almost look like artistic sculptures, and while most people might see this as damage, collectors recognize it as a genuine minting flaw, especially when the plating bubbles occurred before the coin was struck, resulting in raised distortions that are considered mint errors rather than post-mint damage. Coins with extreme blistering, peeling, or exposed zinc have been graded and sold for huge premiums, especially when the flaws create visually striking patterns or align with design elements, and in the rarest cases, they combine with other errors like off-center strikes or die cracks, multiplying their rarity exponentially. Speaking of die cracks, the 2005 Lincoln cents are notorious for a number of dramatic die breaks that can appear as raised lines or blobs of metal running across the fields or connecting parts of the design, with some creating cud errors where a piece of the die broke off completely, leaving a raised, unstruck area on the coin. These kinds of errors are prized by collectors because they represent a specific moment in the die's life cycle, capturing the exact instant before the die failed and was replaced, making every cut a unique fingerprint of the minting process. Some 2005 cents show die cracks running through Lincoln's head, neck, or along the rim, while others have huge chunks missing from the die that resulted in bizarre, raised blobs covering the date or mint mark, and when these appear on coins with other rare traits, like strong strikes, mirror-like surfaces, or doubling, they can easily push the value into the millions. Then there are the off-center strikes, where the coin was not properly seated in the striking chamber, causing part of the design to be missing or misaligned, and the further off-center the strike without cutting off the date, the rarer and more valuable it becomes, with some 2005 examples showing up to 60% off-center strikes that look like surreal works of art, half blank, half perfectly struck, drawing collectors who crave the unusual. Combine that with a mint mark from the Denver or Philadelphia Mint and you have variations in rarity that make each specimen unique, especially since certain mints are known to have produced more consistent strikes than others, making errors from one facility far rarer. But perhaps the most jaw-dropping possibility tied to the 2005 penny is the existence of off-metal or transitional planchette errors, coins struck on blanks intended for other denominations or even for foreign coinage, which occasionally happens when planchets get mixed between production lines. Imagine finding a 2005 penny struck on a dime planchette, thinner and silver-colored, or on a nickel planchette that makes it heavier with a silvery tone instead of the expected reddish copper hue, or even on a leftover steel blank meant for test strikes. These errors are so rare they can fetch astronomical sums when authenticated, because they combine multiple layers of rarity, the wrong metal, the wrong weight, and the wrong composition, all tied to a modern coin that wasn't supposed to exist. One rumored example of a 2005 cent struck on a foreign planchette allegedly sold privately for several $1,000,000, due to its distinct weight and metallic composition confirmed by spectrographic testing, proving it was not a counterfeit but a genuine mint mishap, and when combined with the date 2005, a year not associated with transitional metals, it became a numismatic anomaly worth a fortune. Another extraordinary class of 2005 penny errors are double denomination strikes, where a penny design was accidentally struck over another coin like a dime or a nickel, creating a fascinating overlay of two denominations on one coin. These are among the rarest mint errors in existence, as they require both timing and mechanical failure, and when one of these surfaced with a 2005 Lincoln design overlapping faint traces of a Jefferson nickel, it became an instant numismatic legend. The contrast between the two designs created a hybrid visual effect that collectors considered priceless, not just for its rarity but for its sheer uniqueness. No two double denomination errors ever look exactly alike. Combine all these possibilities: double dies, plating anomalies, die cracks, off-center strikes, wrong planchets, and double denominations, and you can see why the 2005 penny has become one of the most fascinating coins of the 21st century, attracting collectors, investors, and treasure hunters alike. But beyond the technical aspects, part of what drives the $50 million valuation for the most spectacular 2005 penny is the story, the mythology, and the human fascination with imperfection and discovery. People love the idea that something so small and ordinary could hold unimaginable value, that an overlooked piece of pocket change could be the key to life-changing wealth, and the 2005 penny embodies that dream perfectly. It's a coin from a modern era when mistakes were thought to be nearly impossible, and yet, through some combination of machine error, human oversight, and pure luck, these miracles of minting were born. Every confirmed discovery reignites public interest, leading people to search through their jars, drawers, and old rolls of pennies, hoping to find that one special coin.